get comfortable. You know, you're welcome to sit up on blankets if that feels better for you. You can sit cross-legged. But close your eyes, and if you can, just for a couple of minutes here, let's bring the tips of our thumbs and the tips of our pointer fingers to touch each other, where you kind of make that little circle there. And then turn your palms down and let them rest, maybe on your knees. It depends on how you're sitting, of course. But letting yourself just rest palms down, and then just lengthen up through the crown of your head and start to become aware of your breathing. Feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose. Breath gradually expanding a little deeper. So when you start your breath in the belly, you come up through the ribs. Maybe think about coming to the bottom portion of your lungs. Good to come into those full three-part breaths, so you feel the breath move from the belly to the ribs, from the lower chest up higher, so you actually feel your chest rise up. You can go into those deeper three-part breaths. Next exhale. Let's now release our hands on out beside us, fingertips lightly touching the floor. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, opening the arms on back out and down. And now let your head tilt to the right ear towards your right shoulder, and just be easy. Feel that openness there through the left side of your neck. And then come on back up through the top and just tilt the other way. So just tilting your head, letting yourself find that release through the side of the neck. And then we'll come on back up, and let's bring our chin down this time towards the chest. So tilting your head forward. Doesn't mean you have to go far. Really kind of depends on how it feels. Just try to keep, though, your back long. Let it be just your head coming forward, not rounding into the upper back, really. And then come on back up. And if you can lift your chin a little bit, look up a little bit. Don't force it. And don't let your head just drop back. Really control that lift of the chin. And then come on back into center, and we're going to make our way forward into a seated forward bend. So you know you are more than welcome to change how your legs are if you need to. Let yourself walk your hands out as far as you choose to go, coming forward from that low back. And if you get pretty far out and it sounds like a great idea to fold further over, go right ahead. And just accept your breaths now, in and out. One more breath here. And then we'll slowly walk ourselves on back up and let our hands come on out beside us again. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And from here, just let your hands start to circle, but keep them connected. So the backs of the hands end up coming together, and your palms end up coming together, but you're just kind of rolling through. So don't think too hard about it. You know, it may not feel real even, but just let your wrists get a little easy, gentle warm up there. And then we'll stop and reverse directions so that you come the other way. And just enjoy feeling that movement through the wrist. Good. And finish again where you have your hands together in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And then we'll unfold our arms, and we're going to switch the cross of our legs if we're cross-legged on the floor. So if you need to stretch your legs out a little bit first, do. And then come on into being cross-legged here. Sitting up nice and tall, take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist to our right. So bring yourself around. If you want that left hand to come to your right knee, fine, or more towards the midline. So find the twist in the middle of the back. Feel the sitting bones drawing down. See if you can turn to look a little more behind yourself. Now don't do anything that's uncomfortable. And then keep the twist, but start to turn your head back to the left. So you're starting to look back over your left shoulder. You're still drawn back with your right shoulder though, right? You're still in the twist in the back. And then see if you can lower your chin down just a little bit so that you come into releasing your neck a little bit. And then slowly bring the chin back up, more parallel to the floor. And we're going to unwind everything back to center. So letting the shoulders come back around, letting the head face front here now. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our left. So again, right hand can come to that left knee if you choose. Now first, find that twist in the middle of the back. Feel your sitting bones drawing down. Feel the twist right in the middle. If you can look a little more behind yourself, over your left shoulder a little more, do. And now very slowly start to turn your head back around so that you end up right back again looking over that right shoulder. So you're really letting the head turn the opposite way of the twist. And then lower your chin down a little bit. You know, you might find a place that feels kind of tight. Just be mindful. Let yourself release there. And then bring your chin back more parallel to the floor. We're going to unwind again. Get our shoulders back around square. Let ourselves get right on facing front again. And let's come on forward into a seated forward bend. So coming forward from your low back, again, you can go as far out as you choose with your hands. You're more than welcome to fold over the legs if that feels good for your back. And just breathe. Easy breaths. Good. So one more breath here. And then we're going to slowly come on back up to the top. And let's bring our knees up and stretch our legs out. Just not a big wide angle, just a little narrow wide angle there. Come forward just a little bit to wake up the backs of the legs. So feel your heels on the floor. And you might even decide you want to kind of give your thighs a bit of a massage, or even kind of feel around your knees. Take your time. Let it feel really easy to get those legs woken up there. And then come on back up to the top and let yourself kind of twist a little bit towards your left. And as you do, you're letting that right leg just turn in so that it actually just turns in really easily. You can have both hands down here beside you, just finding that rotation in your hip. And then come on back around in the center, so you're just going to go the other way. So you let that left leg turn in a little bit, bring the hands down, so you're in a kind of a little backwards twist. Let it feel easy and good. Good. And then we'll come on back in to center again. And let's bring our legs forward. Kind of shake your legs out a little bit. You might even do little wiper blades with your feet, whether you like to go same, different, opposite, bounce a little. Good. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. So, you know, if you don't want to be on your knees, do not be. If you would rather be on a blanket, for your knees, or if you'd rather not be in your hands, don't be either. You can put your forearms down, you can use your blocks, whatever support you need. But feel your hands, if you are in your hands, on the floor there. Spread the fingers nice and wide. And then just start to turn your head a little bit side to side at your own pace. So you're just turning your head to look to the right, to look to the left. And now keep the head kind of going and add your feet going one way. So, you know, it may be when you look to the left, you want your feet to shift to the left. Or it might be when you put your feet one way, you want to look at the opposite way, right? Kind of play with that. You might do a little bit of both. You might look towards the feet for a couple of times. Then you might think about looking away from the feet when they go one way. Good. And then come on back into center. And from here, let's move through our cat-cows. And just take your time, be mindful, move at the pace that feels good for you to let yourself flow through your back. Really feeling the spine waking up here. Good, and we'll finish the one we're on. Come back to more neutral spine here. And let's shift back towards pose of a child. Now, if you need to stay somewhat forward on your forearms, do. If you can shift your hips back towards your heels, do. Let yourself release here for a couple of breaths. Breathing into your low back. You can let your arms be wherever feels good. Now really feeling that low back expand on your inhales. Good, and we're going to come up enough to walk our hands over to the right, and once you get over to the right as far as you want to go, let yourself just start to breathe into the left side. Remember, your head can rest to the floor, or you can have your head floating up a little bit, focusing on that side body, breathing into the left ribs. And then we'll come on back through center, and we're going to go to the left. So once you come over to that left side as far as you want to go, kind of get comfortable where your head is, breathing into the right side. And then we'll walk ourselves on back into center again. And from here, let's come forward onto our forearms. Keep your forearms parallel. Spread your fingers really wide. Let your elbows be under your shoulders there. And just press down into your forearms and really spread your hands wide as you can here now. So really spread out the fingers and feel each finger on the floor there. And as you press into your forearms, hug your elbows in towards each other, but let your heart melt down a little towards the ground. Good, and from here, shift your hips back enough to step your left foot forward. I'm going to get my blocks for lunge, but totally up to you. Bringing that left foot forward, right foot back, and coming up into your lunge now. So take your time. Doesn't matter how high your hands are. You can be on the floor if you'd rather. Let yourself get into your lunge there, keeping that sense of belly gently engaged. And then from there, let's lower that back right knee onto the floor. Stay there for a second, just pressing into the top of the right foot, just opening a little deeper into the front of that right hip. And then we'll shift hips back and bring our left knee back, step our right foot forward. Lift that back knee up and come into lunge. So take your time as you find your lunge here. Really enjoy coming into opening the front of the left hip there, and really enjoy opening the back of the left leg. Good, and then from here, we're going to slowly lower our back knee down. And go ahead and press into the top of the foot as you maybe shift your hips a little farther forward. Let yourself open there in the front of the hip. Good. And this time we're going to lift that back knee up and we're going to step forward and come on into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be mindful. Take your time here. Walk a little bit in your Uttanasana. Bend a knee at a time. You might want to let your head turn a little, or maybe even feel kind of bobbleheady, right? You know, you can kind of let your head bob around a little bit. And then come on back into center so that you're centered out between your feet. But when you inhale this time, let the heels float up a little off the floor. And when you exhale, let them come back down. So inhale, rising onto the balls of the feet. Exhale, letting the heels come back down. And then one more time. Inhale, rising the heels up. And then exhale, letting them come back down. Let your knees bend a little bit. Let yourself come into your standing forward bend wherever you want for support. Easy breaths. And then we'll let our hands come up to our hips. As we press into our feet, let's rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Coming into mountain pose. Now take your time here. You know that. If you need to shift around, do. Get your feet just the distance apart that feels good. And then bring your gaze on forward and out. Let your hands come softly to meet there in front of your heart. And then just separate your pointer fingers for a second, just a little bit. And then go ahead and fold them down so that you fold them like if you were going to clasp your hands, only it's just your pointer fingers that are folded down like you're going to clasp. Take a breath there. And then unfold and let the fingers come back to touch. And now we're going to do the same thing with the middle fingers separating a little bit. And then they're going to fold down, so that you come into just releasing the fingers down and kind of press the fingers into the backs of the hands a little bit. Feel the hands connected. And then open back up so the fingers come up again and then they meet again. And now we're going to do the ring fingers separate a little bit. And then let those fold down and kind of again feel like you're pressing the fingers into the backs of your hands a little bit. And actually see if you can feel the connection through all your other fingers too. And then open back up with the fingers up so they touch again. We're going to go to the pinkies. They're going to separate a little bit. And then they're going to fold down. And that's kind of the hardest one, right? See if you can allow your pinky fingers to come down. Interesting, isn't it? And then unfold those, back up long, and let them go ahead and touch. And now lift your elbows up a little bit. Really feel your wrists here as you just gently lift your elbows because the hands just naturally press more firmly together. Good. And then lower the elbows softly down. Let's inhale the hands right on up through the midline of the body. And on the exhale, open your arms like wings as you bend your knees and come into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge here. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So find your dog there. You know, wiggle around a little bit if you need to. Shift around. Pick your feet up a time or two if that feels good. Just so you know, adjust your way into dog where it feels really natural, right? And spread your fingers nice and wide. Feel your hands on the floor and really feel each finger there into the ground. And on the next inhale, we're going to come on out to plank, nice and strong. Engage your belly. Really feel that sense of reaching your sitting bones down towards your heels. And now that you're really comfortable in your plank, keep your hands and feet where they are and come on back into dog. Reaching back through your sitting bones. Doesn't matter whether your knees are bent or straight. And we'll do that again. We'll come on out to plank. Nice and strong. And then we're going to come on back into down dog. And this last time, we're going to come on out to plank. And this time we're going to lower down. Knees first if you need. Elbows right by the ribs. And we'll come into a Sphinx pose. Elbows underneath the shoulders. Spread your fingers nice and wide, like we did before. Really feel your hands there on the floor. Let your gaze come between your hands, maybe even a little forward, depending on where your arms are actually. Good, and then just take a second to lift your feet up, curl your toes under a little bit, and don't press hard, but just curl the toes under, feel the bottoms of the feet getting a nice stretch, engage the belly a little. And then we'll come on back to the tops of the feet, down towards the ground here. And from here we're going to lower ourselves back down, hands back by the ribs, and we'll come on back into down dog, whether you want to go through a half or a full push-up, or through your hands and knees and back to dog. And we'll bring our right foot forward to find lunge, and it doesn't matter how you get there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Now if you're fine to hold your elbows and that feels just great for you, that kind of sensation of just a little more traction for your spine. Otherwise, you know, there's all kinds of support. There's elbows above the knees, hands on the blocks, whatever feels good. Easy, full, deep breaths. Let yourself really appreciate the breaths coming in and going out. Good. And one more nice, full breath. And then we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips, and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, let our top of our heads reach up higher. Now let yourself shift a little bit. So you lift your heels a little, go to the balls of the feet, shift back to your heels, and lift your toes up. So you're shifting forward and then back. Not so much that you're going to lose your balance, though, right? It's not big. And then finish off back at center. Bend your knees both slightly here. Press down into the floor with your feet like you're pushing the floor away from you. And then unfold your arms. Keep pushing the floor away from you as you inhale the arms out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find that nice long flat back. So whether you like your hands on your legs, or maybe you like to be on the blocks or the floor in front of your feet so that you find even more length there. And this time we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. So again, coming into that dog, spreading those fingers wide, elbows hugging towards each other. And let yourself just come to this place where you can just be with your breath in your dog. Just letting yourself feel very even between your hands, all the way up through your arms into your shoulders. And you feel equal between your feet, all the way up through your legs into your hips. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to that plank. And we are going to lower down, knees first if you need, elbows right by the ribs. Let's come up into a little cobra where you're really not putting any weight on your hands, right? Hug your elbows in, let your elbows hug towards each other. Feel that openness across your chest. And then if you want to go higher, you can press into your hands and come up higher, and letting yourself come into those shoulders and down and away from your ears. And remember, you don't want to lock your elbows, a little bend in towards your ribs there. And one more breath here. And then we'll lower ourselves on back down. We're going to come back into down dog from here, however you choose to get there. And we will bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Right to your breaths. Let yourself just go right to following those breaths. All the way in and all the way out. Good, and then we'll release to bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees, rise up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And now, see if you can bend your knees a little bit and start to release your arms beside you and bounce a little bit. All right, now you can do it one or two ways. You can keep your feet on the floor and let your knees bend a little bit and stay kind of in a low bounce there. Some people like to bounce with their heels coming off the ground. Right? And this all has to do with how your knees feel. You know, sometimes I'd rather just feel grounded with my feet and just let myself kind of bounce all over the place. And I'll tell you, you can actually feel really lighter if you do these little bounces. It makes you feel like, oh, okay, I'm light, I can do this. It's kind of fun. It's a little playful, right? It's actually, believe it or not, part of people's yoga practice to do some bouncing. So just enjoy a couple more. Good, it kind of keeps you from trying to force your way into things, doesn't it? And then find your mountain pose. Oh, you feel lighter? It does. Your head feels lighter, your body feels lighter. We're going to release our arms on down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And exhale, right foot back into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale carry you out to your plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising with the breath all the way to the top. And let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, find that long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale carry you to your plank. And your exhale will lower you down. And inhale into that cobra again of choice. Exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top with the breath. And let your exhale carry you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come to down dog. Place your hands. Come into your dog however you choose. Walk a little bit. Take your time. You know, if you need to look at your hands, do. If you feel like, I don't feel quite equal in my hands, just make sure you don't have one hand like turned out a lot more than the other. Feel that sense of reaching back through your sitting bones. So you virtually have no wrist creases anymore. Good, right to your breath. And then we're going to bring our left foot forward. So we're coming up for Warrior 2. Have your blocks handy here. Line your heels on up. Get that back foot aligned just the way you want it. Take your time. Let yourself really get into your legs. Get that grounding feeling from being really just where you need to be with your feet. And then come on up with your hands and let the tips of your fingers come to the tops of your shoulders. And then mount your elbows down for a second. So you really feel this sense of like length from right here where the ear is all the way down the sides of your neck and all the way down the tops of your shoulders, right? So you feel relaxed. You're not tensing up in those tops of the shoulder muscles. Good, and now start to float your elbows back out. So still, if you can, think of staying soft in the top of your shoulders. And then unfold your arms so the palms are going to face up and you're going to turn to look at your left palm there. Now from there, just see if you can. Don't straighten your arms really harshly, but come into long arms and feel as open as you can there across your chest. Rise the hands up a little bit higher. Turn your palms down now and then lower your arms back so you can look right out over the top of your left hand. Feel the feet in the floor here. Press the feet gently away from each other. And just feel your whole body in space here, right? Feel everything in your Warrior 2. We're going to turn the left palm up. We're going to fold that right arm behind to our low back, and we're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky. Breathing into that left side. One more breath. And on the exhale, come into your side angle, left hand or forearm to your thigh. Keep your left hand behind you if you can, but roll your right shoulder up towards the ceiling. Now that right hand might be kind of to the midline back there on your back. It might be on the top of your left hip. Some of you might want to wrap it around and kind of try to touch the top of your left hip there. If that feels good, don't force it. Let yourself be where you can. One more breath. Good, and then take that right arm, lie it down on the side of your body so that you're just resting it on top there. And then trail your right hand up by the side of your body, up by your shoulder, by your ear, and start to lengthen that arm very long, turning the pinky down towards the ground, finding that side, extended side angle pose there. Now think about your head. So think about your head being in line with your spine. Just for a second, drop your head down. See how that feels. Just your head, not the rest of you. And then bring the head back up so it feels like it's part of your spine. We're going to come on back to Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And then we're going to bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel and get your feet to where they're parallel, but you can stay here in your five-pointed star for a couple of breaths. So bring your arms out higher than your shoulders. Let yourself feel that sense of really being aligned with your pelvis, because it's easy to feel here. If you tuck your tailbone up under you, you can do that and see what happens. And then you exaggerate the other way. You let your belly hang out and your ribs stick forward. That doesn't feel good either, right? But then try to just get that spot where the tailbone just drops straight down. And then everything lines up. Good. From there, see if you can bring your arms up higher and clasp your hands up overhead. You know, if this bothers your shoulder, don't do it. Interlace your fingers, send your pointer finger up. And then lean over a little bit towards one side. Doesn't matter which one, because you're going to stretch through that other side. So breathing into the side you're stretching. And then come on back up to the top and go over to the other side, letting yourself breathe into that side you're stretching. And then come on back up to the top again. And undo your hands, let them come on down beside you, and we're going to fold forward from the hips, coming into our wide-legged forward bend. Grab your blocks if you want. So once you get your hands down to a surface, go ahead and bend a knee at a time. And then stay for a couple of breaths. So when you bend one knee, see if you can stay there for a couple of breaths, so that it's really easy to give your legs a little bit of time there to adjust. Good. And then finish off back at center and come out to a really long back, whether your hands are on the floor or blocks. Find a flat back there. And then bring your right hand on up to your right hip and just easily roll the shoulder up. Come into an easy twist there, keeping flat there in your low back. And then bring that right hand on back down and let's go to the left. So just letting yourself easily find that twist in the middle of the back, focusing on the twist. And then come on back down again with your hand. Let's bend both knees. If you can walk your hands back towards between your feet, do. Now that doesn't mean you have to fold over. You know, you can walk your hands back so your fingertips are kind of in line with your toes, but still keep a long back forward. Or some of you might want to go ahead and drop the top of the head down towards the ground. That is totally up to you. So you be where you can. You can always have your hands on blocks, you know that. Let yourself be where you can be. Let the head hang if possible. One more breath. Good, and then let your hands walk out. Now we're going to turn our toes out and our heels forward, like for goddess, right? So our toes are turned out slightly. We're going to bring our hands to our thighs, knees are bent, and we're going to come up into a goddess pose here. So letting yourself bring your arms out, bend your elbows to 90 degrees, spread your fingers really nice and wide, and then start to move a little bit. Inhale and come into that letter X with everything straight, arms and legs both. And then exhale and bend your knees and come back down. And then again, inhale, come into that letter X, reach out through the fingertips, and exhale, let yourself come on back down. Good, one more time. Inhale, letting yourself rise on up, and exhale, bring yourself on back down. Stay for a breath here. Let yourself just enjoy your hips, your thighs, your legs. Good, and then we're going to bring our hands down. We're going to come forward again. And once you get your hands either to blocks or the floor, go ahead and turn your feet back parallel. Take one more breath here. And then we'll walk back over to our left foot to come on back into lunge. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So once you're in dog, walk a little bit to the tops of the toes if you need to. Just be really easy and mindful. Good. And then come back to where your feet are a little closer together and lift your right leg up in the air. Find a little three-legged dog just for a breath. Let the toes face down. Keep your hips square. And then lower that foot down and go to the other side. So just letting yourself extend into that three-legged dog and feeling very equal from your hands up through your shoulder, up through your arms to your shoulders. And then we'll come on back down again. Now, if you want to do some vinyasas or kriyas, you can. You can come out to plank. You can move through to back bend. You don't have to. You can put your knees down and rest. So really, you're on your own here. Let yourself go for what feels good. Good. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. So let yourself come on back into your down dog. And we're going to bring our right foot forward this time, and we're coming up for warrior two on this other side. So again, be mindful of getting the length of stance that you like there. Line up those heels. Find that ease of bending that front knee just where it needs to go, where you're right lined up with the center of your foot. And then bring the hands up, fingertips on the tops of the shoulders. And again, let your elbows melt down. So you feel, it's just everything releases there. Your shoulders are wide, you're open across your upper back. Feels really good. Now when you start to float your elbows up, try to stay still, soft, like you're not tensing up in the tops of your shoulders, right? And then we're going to unfold the arms. And again, as you turn to look at your right palm, think about your arms being long, but not locking your elbows. So it feels really good. Now feel your feet in the floor. And then when you start to rise your hands a little bit higher and turn them over, and they come down to the place just where you want to be for your warrior two. Let yourself enjoy. Feel the feet pressing gently away from each other. And really, again, imagine those arms are growing out of your back. You're still soft in the tops of your shoulders. As we fold that left arm behind us, we're going to turn the right palm up and inhale and reach up towards the ceiling. Nice full breath into the right side. And on the exhale, come into that side angle. Keep your left hand behind you if you can for a little bit. Right? And you may want to put it in the middle of your back. You may want to slide it and try to kind of wrap it around to the top of your right thigh. Some people that feels good in their shoulders, but those binds are not for everyone. Good. And then take that left arm and just lay it down on the side of your body. Just feel the weight for a second. And then you're just going to trail the hand up the side of your body, up by your ribs, your shoulder, your ear, lengthening into that side angle now. And so as you press into that right forearm, if you have your forearm on your thigh there, lengthen through the underside of the body. Think of your head again. So not dropping, right? Also not lifting. You got to find that happy place where it's right there in line with your spine. Good. We're going to come on back into warrior two from there, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Nice. Bringing our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And again, we're going to come on forward. So take your time coming into that wide-legged forward bend, and go ahead and bend a knee at a time this time. Really ease your way from side to side. And then get set so your legs are even and walk yourself over to your right. Whether you come all the way over the foot or not is up to you. And if you can bring your right hand on up to your right hip, do. Just be mindful. Let it feel good. And then you can come on back through center, and we're going to go the other side. So again, take your time. Let yourself just enjoy. Good. And then we're going to come on back to center. Now this one isn't for everybody, but if you could turn your fingertips the face behind you and walk your hands back towards behind you as far as you can go. Do it. Don't do it if it bothers your back. And then once you get to where you can stay there, go ahead and stay and breathe. One more breath. And then we'll walk the hands back out in front of us. Now you can use a block, but we're going to turn our toes out, okay? And this time we're going to bend the right knee, keep the left foot all the way on the floor, and let yourself just find that stretch there. And then shift to the other side. So bend your left knee, right leg is long, keep the foot on the floor. So really find what that feels like in that inner thigh, right? And then come back to center, and we're going to do that same thing. Now this time when you bend your right knee, lift your foot up but stay on your heel. And you might need to use your left hand to support you there. And then come back through center and go to the other side. So the left knee is bent, the right foot comes up, you're on the heel. Think of your toes reaching up towards the ceiling. Good. And then come back. Now if you want to go lower this time, go for it. So you can shift your hips down if you want, let yourself come lower. You don't need to. You can shift side to side however you want on these. So if you want to go to the other side, you can. Just be really mindful. You know, you've got your hands there to give you support. Good. And then when you're ready to come back into center, we are going to rotate our feet to where they're parallel again. Get yourself in a place where you can feel good about staying with your breath. Doesn't matter whether you use support under your head or your forearms. Maybe you just want to let yourself hang there. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come up enough to walk back over to our right foot. And come on back into lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So again, vinyasas, kriyas, child's pose if you want. Stay in dog if you want. In other words, let this be what feels really good for you. You may decide you really would rather stay in child's pose and be with your breath. Good. And then we'll come on back and knee and down dog again. Good. Let's from here bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one, so have your blocks handy. Get that back foot arranged to the angle that feels good for you, the width of your stance that feels good for you. Once you get yourself up, bring your hands behind you, clasp them. Let your elbows be really bent though. So you're kind of resting your hands towards the middle of your back, but you know, on your hip really. Kind of your right hip is kind of supporting your right wrist there. So just be easy. See if you can come into a couple of three-part breaths. See, inhaling into the belly, the ribs, up into your chest. That huge expansion feeling that comes from the bottom and rises to the top. Good. One more breath. And then release your hands on down. Bring the arms forward. Clasp your hands. Send your pointer finger out. And start to float those arms on up. Now you may decide to stay in front of your face more. You may decide to get your arms by your ears. Hug your elbows in towards your face. And you can lift up higher if you want with your gaze. Bringing yourself into your warrior one wherever you choose. You can still keep your gaze forward, that's fine. Really feel that right foot in the floor and imagine the arches of the feet lifting up and really feel that openness in the front of your right hip there. Good, one more breath. And then as you look forward again, release your arms on down beside you. We're going to bring the hands back where we had them behind us. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward over that front leg. So coming into humble warrior, you may decide you want to stay up fairly high and just bring your head. You may want to come all the way over your leg and bring your arms off your back. That arm thing is totally up to you, whether you want to do it or not. One more breath. And then release your hands on down. We're going to find lunge right here, so you know whatever you need to do as far as finding the height that you want to be for a twist. And whether you want to bring your right elbow to your left knee into twisted prayer, or maybe just bring your left hand up to your low back. Or maybe you want to add stretching your left arm up. You find the twist that works for you. Again, be aware of your head. Think about your head being in line with your spine. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down, and we're going to come into down dog from here. So take your time, come back into your downward facing dog pose, walk a little bit, and then bring your feet a little closer together. Lift your left leg up in the air behind you, bend the knee and open the hip, stack that left hip on top of the right. You can look under your left arm, and then start to lower that foot on back down, and we're going to switch legs. So right leg comes up, knee bends. Again, if you can stack that right hip on top of the left, you can look under your right arm. Oh, good, and then we're going to lower it back down. You're on your own from here. Do whatever feels good. Right? Immediately, instead of thinking. If it feels better to put your knees down, do it. If it feels better to stay in dog, if it feels better to come out for a plank and move into a back bend, good. And then finish off and meet back in down dog. Because from here, we're going to bring that right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one on this other side. So again, getting your legs established and getting that left foot the way you want it as far as the turnout. Bringing your hands gently behind you. And again, you're kind of propping them up a little bit, right? So that you feel, okay, this feels pretty easy in my shoulders. I can just really let my gaze come forward and start to think of those three-part breaths. Inhaling into the belly, the ribs up into the chest, and like we thought of at the beginning, like starting at the bottom of the lungs and rising to the top when you get there. And then we're going to release to let our arms come down. Bringing our hands forward. Now interlace your fingers, send your pointer finger out. Now you're done the same way you did the other side. So uncross, bring your other thumb on top, clasp your hands, send your pointer finger out. And then start to rise those arms on up. Now again, you can stay forward of your head. You don't have to go all the way up by your ears. And you don't have to even lift your gaze up. Of course, you can just let yourself stay with your gaze forward. But again, feel the lift and the arches of your feet. Really feel that openness in the front of the left hip. Elbows are hugging in. Again, it's that softness in the tops of your shoulders. And it is like your arms are growing out of your back. One more breath. And then as you bring your gaze forward, we'll let our arms come wide and down, and again bring them behind us so that we can fold forward, because it feels really natural to do that. Letting yourself come forward over that leg. Doesn't matter whether you stay up higher. Maybe you can let your head hang. And maybe some of you can bring your arms off your back to where that feels really good. You know, that is just not in everybody's shoulders, this position here of the arms. So do what works. And then when you're ready, release your arms on down all the way to find your lunge. So again, as you release into your lunge and you set up for your twist, you can decide if you want to use blocks under your hand. Right hand can come to your hip. You can roll that shoulder up with your hand on your sacrum there. Or you can reach your arm up. Or you can bring your left elbow to your right knee there and come into twisted prayer. But again, find your head in line with your spine. Reach back through that inner left heel. Let it feel good. And then we'll come on back down with the hands. We're going to step back into down dog. Last time for vinyasas or kriyas or anything else you want to do. So if you want to play with something else, go for it. If you want to do some side planks, if you want to let yourself come into playing with your hip openers again, totally up to you. Good. And then let's meet back, finish off, meet back in down dog. And from there, separate your feet a little wider on your mat. And walk your hands back. As you do, turn your heels forward so you're turned out a little bit. And bring your elbows above your knees. So even if you're going to stay right here, your feet are turned out and then squat here. You know, if you decide you want to go lower, you can. You can put your hands behind your heels and kind of go lower. Or you can, if you want, you can let your hands come to your heart. If you want to squat and bring your hands to your heart, that's fine. So just be mindful, let it feel really good, and feel that release for your low back and your hips. And you know, remember, your heels don't have to go to the floor. Everybody is built differently. And if you need to stay with your elbows above your knees, do that. Good. So one more breath. And to come up, if you shift forward, put your hands down, get your hips up and walk your feet back under you. You can get into your feet hips distance apart and parallel, and then float your hands on up to your hips. Press into your feet and rise on up. And inhale your arms all the way out and up overhead. And on your exhale, let your hands come down together in front of your heart. And enjoy your mountain pose. Finding that balance. That sense of being balanced both front to back, side to side, the alignment of your pelvis. You know, and sometimes you try to, I mean, everybody does. Some days you just feel like, oh, I'm just going to find my mountain pose and really force my way into it. But instead of doing that, if you can just let your body find its way and just be with your breath. Good, and then just unfold your arms down beside you. Shake out a little bit, move around. And we're going to bring our mats all the way into a ball. So we're going to turn the long edge of the mat, short edge of the mat, sorry, into the wall so that you can get, and I can move this. Yep, Lana, come over here. So bring everything with you. We're going to stay. Take your time. So you're going to need our blocks. We're going to bring our blocks underneath our hands and bring ourselves into a little warrior three and add a little twisting with it, okay? So bring in your hands to your blocks, and let's actually all do left foot back to the wall first. All right, so you get yourself just with those toes down towards the ground. And of course, you got your blocks there, and you just kind of walk your way to where you feel just where the best support is for you, right? And then take your time now. And once you get really set, bend both your knees a little bit, just a little bit, and let yourself feel that right foot pressing into the floor. And then start to feel your left foot pressing into the wall. And then if you can come into straighter legs, you don't have to, but if you can, come into straighter legs, but keep pressing into the floor and into the wall. Lengthen out through the top of your head. See if you can float your right hand up to your chest for a second. And then see if you can reach that arm forward, looking towards the front edge of your mat. So really extending, pressing into that foot on the wall there. One more breath there. And then put your right hand back down on the block for a second. Let yourself hands get even. And then start to bring your right hand up onto your low back. And palm down, roll that shoulder up as you turn to look to the right. And there is the outside of that supporting right leg, right? Huge. One more breath. And then bring your hand down Bring your foot down. Right away, put your other foot up on the wall, because that's the most relief probably you're going to get. So take your time. You can look at your toes. You guys were very well aligned. Everybody's very even in their hips. Toes are facing down. Bend both your knees a little bit once you kind of get settled. And then again, really focused. Press into the foot you're standing on. Press into that right foot on the wall. Come into longer legs if you choose to, but you don't have to. You don't really want to feel like you're locking your knees though. And then if you can bring your left hand up to your chest, and then reach it forward and look a little beyond the front of your mat, which is to me a pretty hard one. And then bring your hand back down. Here we are. Now get your hands even, so that when you get ready to put your left hand up on your low back and you roll that shoulder up, your palm is down, and stay here for a little bit. Give yourself time, right? This is really intensely into the outside of your left leg. So make sure you're not rolling to the outside of your foot. One more breath. And then let yourself release and bring that foot down. And from here, walk back towards the wall, and then come on down with your knees and shift back into child's pose. And release there. So take your time, just release and breathe. Good. Now, I had some really crazy thing that I thought I was going to try today, but I'm kind of thinking it's probably not the thing to do. But I can show it to you. I can't really show it to you. I actually hurt my foot, so I can't really do very much. But if you want to try this crazy thing, you're more than welcome. All right? If you want to do dolphin from here with your heels up the wall, go for it. All right? Just coming into your regular dolphin. If you want to do something that really works the core of the body, the issue is it also really works maybe too much on your back. So I read about this thing and I thought, well, I could try it. But my problem is now I can't curl my toes under. So it's really hard for me. If anybody wants to try this, they can though. You come up to a forearm plank and then you lift yourself up into a dolphin and then you slide yourself back, right? So it really, what it does, it doesn't look like much, but it is. But it also is really uses your back. Right, your low back. So if you have issues there, don't ever try that, all right? Just saying. But it's just a fun little thing to add. But if you'd rather just do regular dolphin, just do regular dolphin. So the reason you have to have that blanket under your feet if you're going to try that is because you have to be able to slide, right? And I just double the mat up because then you can just have, you're solid. But I know one or two of you might just really think that would be fun to do. If I could curl my toes under, I'd try it, but I can't. I've got a bruised foot, so you're gonna give it a go. So if you start in the forearm plank, I'm sure you could do it on your hands too. But if you come out in your plank and then pull up, yeah, that's the idea. It's intense. It's a lot of core work, right? Yeah, no. So start a little farther into your plank when you begin, and that way then you have really more to go to pull those feet up and that hips up. There you go. Don't do it if it hurts your back. Because a lot of people will
you have overachievers that are going to say it.
Yeah, well, I knew some people in here would want to do that. But, yeah, it's a lot. So, when you're like, yeah, no, that's not for me. If you want to come into this, bless you, a regular dolphin pose, do it. Let yourself stay there and release. You can do your legs up the wall. Everybody who loves all that working towards an inversion, feel free to do that. You know that. Yes, and if you want to do 3 blocks, I'll bring you a 3rd block. The bottom block goes that way. That's it. Lana, the top 2 stack. Want one, Tom?
Yep.
Anybody else want 3rd? Chrissy, 2? There you go, man. Go. Yeah. that would build core strength doing those. Like if you worked up to doing 10 or something of them at a time. But not if it puts pressure into places you don't want it, like your back. So if you're in your 3 black dolphin and you want to stay there, you know you don't have to do anything except just release between the shoulder blades on your back. And take your time if you want to lift the foot up, you know. I know a lot of you like to work up towards coming into forearm stand, so feel free to do that. Or rest in child's pose. Good. We are going to momentarily come down onto our bellies once you've rested. So if you're still up there and you still have like one more thing to do up there, go for it. And then once you come down to your belly, rest your forehead, let yourself release however you can. And then we're going to let our arms come down alongside us, and we're going to just float our hands and our arms and our legs up a little bit, and our head. So not huge locust, stay really low. Just feel like you're just lifting slightly up. The next time you exhale, come down with everything. And then again, inhale your way up. Stay for a breath. And then exhale your way down. Maybe go a little higher this next time if you can. So inhale, rising up, reaching towards the wall behind you with your fingertips and your toes. Nice. And then coming on back down. We're going to reach our right arm overhead and roll onto our right side. And we're going to come onto that side like we're standing up in mountain pose. Let your left foot come a little off your right one. And then bring your left foot in like you're doing tree pose. Into either the inside of your inner thigh or your inner calf. Now if you're losing your balance, press into the outside edge of your right foot there. You can always put your hand on the floor. And now those of you who want to draw that left knee in towards your shoulder, use your left hand to draw it in. And come up into Anantasana, stretching that left leg long, you can. And you know, you can keep it lower, you can hold the thigh, you can let yourself keep the knee bent, just open the hip that way. You can reach up for your foot if you choose. Rotating that heel forward. Now, really keep pressing into the outside edge of that right foot a little bit. And then when you're ready, bring the left foot again like you're doing tree. Let the foot come in to the inside of the leg somewhere. Let it feel like a relief. And then we'll stretch the leg down long, and we're going to roll back through our belly, and we're going to go right away onto the other side to where we're just lined up, feet underneath us, so you're like standing in mountain, although you're on your side, of course. Press into the outside edge of that left foot there. Right foot comes in like you're doing tree. Again, now you can hold the floor if you need. You can put your hand on your hip. You can bring your arms overhead if that feels good. Just let yourself enjoy. Just play. Let it feel good. And then again, if you feel like you want to extend the leg into that Anantasana, you can use your right hand to draw your right knee in towards your shoulder. And then if you want to extend it up long, you can. You can hold your foot, you can hold the thigh, rotating that heel forward. Just enjoy finding that outward hip rotation there. And we're going to come back to that would-be lying tree, side lying tree pose. So you're welcome to put the foot back down on your leg wherever you want. Good, and then we'll stretch the leg on back long again. And now we're going to roll to our backs. So you might have to obviously not roll onto the floor by adjusting yourself onto your mat now, back to center with your feet on the floor. And bring your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg long. Hold behind your right thigh and just extend that right leg up overhead for a second just to open up a release for the back of the leg there. Some of you might even want to hold the back of the thigh, put your left hand on top of your left hip. And when you exhale, lift your head up and send your hand down your thigh and look at your left long leg down there. Look at your toes. And then we'll come on back down with the body. We're going to bring that knee back in, bending the knee, and switch to bring our left knee into our chest. Extend our right leg long. Let yourself stay there for a breath. And then hold behind your thigh and extend that leg up. It doesn't have to go straight, and if it needs to come away from you, that's fine, but just really feel a release in the back of the leg there. It depends on you where you hold the leg or the foot. You can if you want. Right hand on top of the right thigh. And if you can, when you exhale, lift your head up, look down at your right foot, slide your right hand down your thigh a little bit. And then we'll come on back down again. Bring that left knee back into the chest and then bring both knees on in. And let your arms come out beside you into a T position and just start to let the knees go from side to side at your own pace, right? You may want to come to one side and let yourself stay. Just let the legs come over and release. You may like to move back and forth, side to side in your twists with your breath so that you don't stay on one side, but you're just continuously moving, right? Of course, that might lead to something else for you. There might be another kind of twist that you'd like to do. You may feel like there is another hip opener that you need to do right now. You may feel like you'd like to come into Baddha Konasana or Happy Baby, or you may want to stay on your back and do your Baddha Konasana with your feet on the floor, maybe even putting your blocks underneath the outsides of your legs when you open the knees out to the side. Sometimes that can feel really releasing in a different way than bringing your feet in, right, and doing the Baddha Konasana. Just some suggestions. Obviously, everybody feels different after what we just did. So you need to really be mindful. Take your time. Follow your body's natural inclination of whatever you might need to do here. It doesn't have to be a yoga pose, but it can be any sort of movement or stretch or pose that you need to do. I would love to bring stuff for anybody who feels like support. You've got the wall there, of course. You can get close to put your legs up if you want. I can bring you bolsters, blankets. Or just give me a wave if you think of something that sounds really, really good to let yourself release here. Remember, if you're not comfortable, it's fine to move around till you are. Just release into your breath now. Watching your breath. In and out. Know that your mind is going to wander off because that's what our brains do. They think. ever going to be able to stop thought, right? But you can find those little quiet places. Focusing on the breath until you realize all of a sudden you're thinking a thought. But there was a little quiet place that was in between there. Those are the places your body and your brain have time to benefit from all you just did. So just give yourself these few minutes to completely and fully relax. aware of feeling the breath coming in and going out and the actual physical movement as you breathe in and out. Feeling your belly moving and maybe into your ribs a little. Take your time. Let those breaths start to renew you, refresh your energy a little bit so that when you feel like moving, your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet, moving up into your arms, your legs, however you need to move, stretching or bending or bringing your knees in if that feels better to your back. You know, take your time, enjoy the ground a little longer, being on your back, or if you're comfortable to roll to your side, you can stay on your side a little bit longer with your knees soft. Just appreciate gravity holding you down there. Give yourself time to adjust back. Be easy when you do feel like you're ready to rise up so that it feels like the next natural thing to do, to get seated comfortably and to get your head to come to rise, to be up on top again. Feeling that sense of being balanced between your sitting bones and lengthening up through the top of your head and letting your hands rest where you feel really easy in your shoulders. And then just watch your breath. Imagine as you breathe in and out through your nose that you're breathing in and out equally through both sides of your nose. And let your next exhale bring your hands to meet right there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.